So towards the end of the year, the young men at Augustine Academy asked me if I would give them a talk, giving them life advice. Here it is. So firstly, pray every single day. Why? Not so you can congratulate yourself on feeling pious, but because it's necessary. 1,000 thoughts compete for your attention every day, and anxiety is felt when you don't know what to prioritize, what's most important. Prayer focuses your attention on what is maximal important. It lifts your gaze to what's transcendent. Secondly, have a staple diet of hard dopamine. What do I mean by that? Only go after the dopamine that's hard to get. What's hard dopamine? Well, firstly, what's easy dopamine? Easy dopamine is you're scrolling social media. You feel a small micro spike in dopamine. Lasts for a few seconds, dies out, leaves you with nothing. Kind of comparable to the refined processed food that gives you a quick sugar spike and then a crash. Playing computer video games, slightly longer lasting dopamine hit, lasts several minutes. Contrast that with something like exercise. The dopamine lasts a lot longer, but it's not like a crazy rush. Same as eating a steak. You don't suddenly feel a burst of energy. You get energy, but it's a slow burn. So chase that hard dopamine that lasts longer. And it might be helpful to imagine yourself, young men, as if you were on a date, first date, lovely girl. She asks you, what do you do with your free time? You answer honestly, scrolling social media, binge watching Netflix, playing computer games. Before you've gotten to the third one, she's walked out. So how about you think, what would be the most impressive answer to that question? And start doing those things now, because we are defined by how we use our free time. Next rule, gambling is good. Take risks. I'm always disappointed when I ask students, what's your career plan? And they tell me something and I ask, why that career? And they say, because it's safe and secure, it's got a guaranteed income. It's not necessarily the most meaningful thing. It's not what I want to do. It's not what I feel called to, but it's safe. Hang safety. Take a big risk. There's the big risks that have the high rewards. It's not just in the casino that there's big risks with low chances of success that have the high rewards. That's in life as well. Take the big risks and get the big reward. Don't pick something because it's safe. Rule number 3. Dating is not an autotelic good. What does that mean? Well, what is an autotelic good? It's something you do for its own sake. Reading a book, looking at a sunset, listening to music. You do them for their own sake. What's that in contrast with? An instrumental good. What's an instrumental good? Something you do as a means to an end. I dig the hole because I want to plant the fruit tree. Well, why do you date? You date not just for the sake of dating. You date to discern marriage. What does that mean? You need to keep that in the forefront of your attention as you approach the endeavor. Why? Because it determines some fundamental decisions, such as, when am I ready to date? Well, let's say it takes between, let's say 1 and 2 years in a standard situation to discern whether or not you're going to be marrying a person. Okay. And in the end of that discernment, you want to marry them. You don't want to still be only 14 and years away of marriage. So if dating is discernment for marriage, then, and dating presumably shouldn't take more, discernment shouldn't take more than a couple of years, then don't embark upon that discerning enterprise half a decade before you're even ready to finalize the very thing that you're meant to be discerning. Don't go into dating like, oh, why are you dating this person? Oh, well, because it's good fun. That's treating an instrumental good as an autotelic good, and that's problematic. 4th rule, you need to have other young men, not women, who hold you accountable in your pursuit of virtue and a life of integrity. They need to be people that you're not just seeing once a year at some Christian camp. They need to be people that you're intentionally catching up with on a weekly basis to say, hey, completely stuffed up this week, please pray for me. That humiliation of admitting your errors to a brother in Christ is in itself somewhat of a motivation to do better next week. Next rule. A man without a mission is an oxymoron. You're not a man unless you have a mission, a thing that you're striving after and willing to die for. It's absolutely necessary. If you don't have a mission, you can't even measure your progress. You can't feel motivated each day to say, hey, I'm this much closer towards this goal. You need to have a mission, and it needs to be unique, and it needs to be non-trivial, it needs to be personal and relevant to your skill set, your aspirations and your ambitions. I'm aiming towards this. And hey, look, today I've got this much closer towards that meta goal, and that fills me with vitality and motivation to get up early in the morning and to work hard and fend off the temptation towards apathy. Motivations, the precondition of motivation is having not just a goal, but a noble goal. So find your mission, note the progress, and give yourself that necessary incentive to work hard and shoot for the highest goal you possibly can. Another rule about relationships: do not marry an obsequious sycophant. Oh, Ben, what does that even mean? Well, to remind you, someone who's obsequious, they're excessively servile and submissive. What's a sycophant? It's a suck-up, a people pleaser, someone who just says what they know you want to hear. Both detrimental characters in your spouse. Why? Because you suck. You're not half of what you should be or could be. And you need somebody who's going to maximally call you on to all that you could and you should be. They should be an electric magnet that is pulling you in such a capacity that they can counteract that gravitational force of your own apathy and self-excusing vice. Your spouse needs to be someone who is on the side of who you could and should be, and they're calling you onto that. You don't want somebody who's going to say, there, at least you tried. That's not going to be enough to break the shackles of your own vice and launch you on to transcendent virtue. Find somebody who sees your potential and wants to call it forth and will challenge you every time you miss the mark and say, hey, pull your socks up. You can do better than that. You can do better than that is the kind of remark that like, ooh, you're a keeper. Next rule, you have to read great books. Why? Well, to answer that question, you need to ask, what's the difference between knowledge and wisdom? Knowledge is just the acquisition of facts, data. Wisdom, it's procedural wisdom. It's knowledge of how to act in the world. What is stories? Stories are a narrative communication of how to live and how not to live. And we can extract that implicitly from the tales by our impulses of admiration and repulsion. What you admire is that which should be emulated. What you find visceral disgust towards, like, that's not what I should be pursuing. Stories give us that. 80 years is not enough time to learn all that we need to learn about how to live well and what the good life consists in. You can vicariously gather a distillation of a lifetime's insights into a story. A story is the condensation of the insights of the given author that we can enjoy effortlessly. The wisdom that you can gain from such stories is it gives you a sophisticated apprehension of how to act in the world. So read the great books and enjoy the maturity that can transcend your years in consequence. Final rule, contra mundi, Latin for against the world. Now, I'm sorry that the mums are not going to like this last rule. Travel the world solo. Make it hard. Throw yourself outside your comfort zone where you know you're really at the outer frontier of that zone of proximal development where you can't really fall back upon your friends and family to get you out of this scrape. you're halfway between Italy and France, somewhere in the Alps. It's 10 o'clock at night and the road is covered in ice. And you need to figure out for yourself exactly where you're going to stay that night. And it requires some critical thinking. It requires some maturity. It requires some shouldering of responsibility and taking the adventure of life seriously into your own hands. So it's not enough to just go traveling to another state. You've got to get out of Australia. New Zealand doesn't count. It's too easy, too similar to our own culture. You want to get away from everybody who you know that you'll easily fall back on. And look, this is advice is conditioned upon the presumption that you're, preferably 18 years or older. But get outside of your comfort zone. Go traveling for an extended period of time. It's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done, and it'll be the time that you grow more than any other. That is where you're going to grow. It's going to be the time that you grow a lot. It's where you'll figure out who you are. It's where you'll gain that necessary self-confidence, and you'll come away from it going, I know who I am. I know what I'm capable of. Look out, world, because I'm something dangerous.